All right. Good morning, Katrina.
Morning, Mike. Well, almost afternoon here. It's a little earlier for you, though.
Oh yeah, West Coast centric thing here. So yeah,
Yeah.
this is episode 2 of Coffee with Katrina. So
Yes.
that's
Not the
just
same coffee from 2 weeks ago, just the same mug.
no. Oh my God,
I
this
would
is
smell.
also what week 185 of quarantine too. So
Oh
how?
my gosh. See, I sort of feel it, but I'm such a homebody anyway. And where I live,
Yeah.
we're in off season. Like we're kind of equivalent to like Martha's Vineyard, right? Where like
Mm.
everything sidewalks roll up for half the year. And so we're not into our season yet. So like all of our businesses are mostly closed normally. There's very few people around. So it's starting to feel a little bit more like quarantine here, but not really so far. It's weird.
I'm just an extrovert, so I'm pretty much like just pacing in circles around the house. Like, when can I go out and see people? But
Poor
we'll,
Erin.
we'll get there. But I got my first quarantine haircut. Erin
By
did it.
Erin.
She did
Nice. It
good.
looks really
She did
good.
good.
Good
Yeah.
job, Erin.
I
Surprised she
know.
didn't dye it like MemberVault green for you though. That would have been
That would
that
be
should be a thing
awesome.
for next call.
For
We'll
next
do
call. Yeah.
dye your
Yeah.
hair.
This could be a documentary on the mental effects of quarantine on home workers, and just see
It
like
could be.
you'll just see me deteriorate throughout the weeks. Like, they just start to crash.
Hopefully I'll stay level.
Yeah. You're fine. You're fine. You're like the same Katrina all the time.
I
We're gonna find
try.
out. We're gonna find out you're like a customer happiness robot. Like,
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I have a clone. I'm a clone and really the real Katrina's in another room just going like nutty.
to keep up with everything that you've been doing, you must have several clones. So,
Maybe. I'm not gonna let out my secrets though. Although, the clone machine could probably sell for a lot.
yeah.
Maybe.
So today is exciting because we're talking about Aaron's doing this podcast series right now this week about just kind of curious to customer. So how do you get somebody
Mhm.
from curious in your audience to a customer? And this is one of the biggest drivers behind why MemberVault is different than your
Mhm.
traditional funnel, course, membership, e-commerce site, whatever you want to call it. This is
Mhm.
what makes MemberVault, like, this is where the rubber meets the road on why
Yeah.
is MemberVault different than these other platforms. And so today, what we wanted to talk about was, like, first, all the different things that you can put in your account, and like
Mhm.
why. Like, and we're
Right.
gonna look at like some success stories about like who's really crushing it right now, and like
Mhm.
take a peek at their products and see, like, okay, well,
Mhm.
what's going on behind the scenes here.
Mhm.
We'll take a peek at our MemberVault account
Yep.
too, to show you kind of like how people kind of come in, go from that curious to customer thing. I think that's really
Mhm.
fun too, to kind of look at that.
Mhm.
um, yeah, so I just think that's really cool. And then I think we want to start off by maybe talking about your account. Like, you were going to put you on the hot seat
Mm.
as well,
I'm
because
always in the hot seat.
you're always in the hot seat. That's why it's Coffee with Katrina. So it's gonna be
Uh,
roasting Katrina. No, we're not roasting you.
mm.
Um, no, this is cool because we were talking about this, and right before we hit record, we were talking about like
Mhm.
the cobbler shoes kind of thing, right? Where, um,
Perfect example of that.
yeah, where it's like, and I know our account has suffered that too, where we kind of like lose track of like, okay, wait, what are we doing here? And so there are some really cool, um, there's some really cool things that we can like do, like shift into
Mhm.
with an account, and how most accounts are really a good like evolution story, right? And that
Yes. 100%.
it doesn't matter where you are right now with your MemberVault account. You
Mhm.
can make some pretty small pivots and put some things in place, see what's working, add some new things, and go there. So,
Yeah.
I mean, tell us a story about like your personal MemberVault account, because I know for a
Yeah.
while it was kind of like it was like your little testing area, and then like you put
Mhm.
products up there, and like lately you've really leaned into like, all right, let me unleash this bad boy.
Mhm. Yeah, and so for me, like interesting fact here, I'm officially MV user number 34. just so you know.
Oh,
Yeah. So I've been around
yeah.
for a long time, but I will say, like, and before I was part of Team MV, I probably really didn't do anything with my account. Like, I
Hmm.
dabbled in it, and I kind of put some things in, and then I never really shared it. But at that time, I couldn't even say how long ago that was, like
Right,
3-4 years ago, when you guys were first getting a few beta testers in there. Like, I don't even
right.
know how long ago that was
Oh
now.
my God.
Um,
Years.
Years, right? So I was dabbling in it, but I wasn't really myself clear on who I was serving, what I was doing.
Hmm.
My clientele at the time was a bit of a mishmash. I had some like local businesses I was serving, plus like some online business owners. And so
Yeah.
I wasn't clear. So it was really hard for me to decide what to put into MemberVault. But I'd say probably about 2 years ago or so, I did add in what I called my resource vault, which was basically a subscriber hub.
Hmm.
I had maybe 4 or 5 small free things in there, like PDFs, checklists, that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
They were all more around like email marketing in a
Yep.
sense, but general. Whereas now I'm really niched into serving MemberVault and active campaign users. So when I don't have my MemberVault hat on with Team MV, my private
Right.
one-to-one clients are MV and active campaign users.
Right.
So I realized very much that when I looked at my own MemberVault account, I was like, this doesn't serve any of them really well. And it's not serving me well, because I think what I did is a complete normal first user experience in MemberVault. I just threw spaghetti at the wall. I was like, oh, I need
Hmm.
to put something up there. So like, what can I do? And I think I went through that whole struggle of, I have all this content in my head, all of this teachable knowledge. I just didn't know what at the time would be valuable to my desired audience and what would
Right.
serve them well. So I didn't like, again, I just had a couple PDFs and a couple checklists, but they were of randomness, and they didn't speak to one, clear niche or anything like that. So I
Right.
blew that up. It's still in my account in the background for those who did have access to it, which was not a large number of
Hmm.
people. And I really got intentional, and I think that's what I was missing before, was the intentionality behind it.
Right.
Whereas now I'm very intentional that, like, I have a free training that's about the minimum viable offer approach. And that speaks to really anyone using MV. You don't have to be an active campaign user to go through that training, but it's all about creating a product as quickly and efficiently as possible. And that's my free entry point. I don't have the subscriber hub, resource hub available
Hmm.
anymore because it wasn't serving well.
Yep.
And the people I want to serve really needed a direct training, not a couple PDFs, for example. So I
Right.
got really
Right.
intentional there with that free product, and then wanted to look at how that stems into other things. So I've got, my MV crash course for active campaign users. I have my membership for MemberVault and active campaign users, but it's all
Hmm.
now very intentional. And there's just really that one free entry point, although my MV crash course is pay what you want right now. So somebody could get that for free if they wanted to,
Right.
right?
Right.
So I think it was really that kind of like evolution from like spaghetti on the wall, just put something in there. But I wasn't also, that's the main thing too, is I
Hmm.
wasn't driving traffic there.
Right.
Oh, there's Moira from Schitt's Creek.
Yep, yep. I was like, wait, I have to at least bring it up on the screen here too. So yeah, so this is what you're talking about, and this is what I love, right?
Yeah.
Is that this? I mean, because this looks like super focused and just gorgeous and like ready to go.
Thank
And again,
you.
because you have that free training, like, and
Yeah.
it's specific. It's not just like, hey, here's some random documents. Here's a resource center. That
Right.
actually might work for a lot of people. It might work if you have like a lot of like odds and ends out there. Go ahead and group them
Yeah.
together and make
Hmm.
a subscriber hub or a resource center, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But you're like, no, I think I'm so niche down that what's going to be a
Hmm.
great entry point, top of funnel, if you will, type of thing is a free training like this.
Yeah.
And that's what you have up there. And I think
Yeah,
that's
and a free train
great.
and a free thing that kind of speaks to everybody, right? It doesn't matter if you're new to
Hmm.
online business and using MemberVault, or if you've been using it for several years and you just kind of need that reminder, right?
Yeah.
I think with the, if I backtracked and it was even more intentional 3 years ago or so with that resource hub, that subscriber hub, I would have maybe approached what I put in there a little bit more differently,
Hmm.
so that each thing kind of led into the other. And the things that were in my subscriber hub were a bit more intentional rather than that random spaghetti. But the subscriber hub is if you're coming from a place where you have a lot of content in your head, and or maybe you're coming from like the one-to-one coaching world where you have a brick and mortar practice and you have a lot of resources already created that you can easily put into something rather than recreate the wheel. I do think it's a great entry point for somebody who's starting out and building their audience and trying to be of greater value and be able to offer a few things in one free entry point. But I also think that as you evolve in your business, you may find, like I did, that didn't serve very well anymore. Especially for me, like I'm lucky enough to have a business that on my private side is really 100% referral based. So if somebody's coming to my MemberVault, it's because I've either directed them there myself, or another colleague of mine has, or a client of mine has. I'm not running paid ads. I, in all honesty, again, cobbler's kids with no shoes. My website is horribly outdated. I'm not even driving traffic there, right? So, but again, if I was in that lead generation, I guess that lead generation stage of my business, my approach would be different with my MemberVault account and would be more focused on lead generation than maybe what it looks like it is right now.
And I think real quick, what I want to do is, because we're talking about like difference between like, so we're talking about your free offer. I think this is great. We have no script for this, by the way. We're totally
we're totally random. They should know that by now.
But see, but you talk about the spaghetti against the wall step, and I want to be clear not to discount that, because I think that
I think it's needed.
That's a legitimate stage, and I think that MemberVault, here's what's cool. MemberVault can help you see what spaghetti should be stay on the wall and what spaghetti you should get rid of, you know? And so like real quick, I wanted to share one of the most powerful things I think in MemberVault is being able to look at your engagement graph, right? So like we're a little more intentional now about what we have going on here. But like these are our numbers from January 1st till today. Right. And we can see the engagement graphs. Obviously we were kind of flat, and then we had this big spike. I forget what we did then, but that was a good day.
That was in February.
And then it's been on an upward trend ever since, because we've been really pushing it. But you can also look at your products individually. So like our home base was where we kind of that was our spaghetti against the wall, the MemberVault home base. So like if anyone's been there, you know what I'm talking about. There's all kinds of stuff up there. And here's what's cool. You let that spaghetti against the wall, like subscriber hub, run for a while. People will vote with their actions, with their engagement, what they want to see. So here's what's cool. Like, so we can look at this and we can see that like, okay, this is how much engagement each lesson has gotten. Right. And you always expect to see like the beginning ones have come in high, because that's where people are getting in, and there's like a natural drop off. But what's cool is when you see these kind of like little spikes. So like, oh look, Abby Herman's got more clicks than usual. Like you expect to see this kind of like slow drop off. And then that's not what happens here. Is you see these little spikes, and they can be really informative. So here's one, right? Like by module 5, you expect people to be kind of pieced out. And yet we have this big spike, and it's our 3 ways to book more one-on-one clients training. So like, that's really good information. So there's a bit of spaghetti that like maybe should stay on the wall, where, maybe some of this other stuff like can fall off. And I think
can I interrupt for 1 sec? Sorry. I think we should mention too that this product is set to regular. So somebody can bounce around to the modules and lessons at their leisure. If you have a product that is progressive, and one of the main reasons that pretty much everything I do is progressive, you see exactly where people drop off when you review these charts, right? You can see like how many, like just that steady decline. And I don't know if there's any progressive products there.
I don't know if Golden Hamster is. I don't know. We have our our account's a great example of I call our account the content graveyard. We have a lot of stuff because we've been running it for 4 years now.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff that we've tried and hung up.
Yeah. I was saying,
yeah,
to what you said about the spaghetti on the wall, like I that is very much a necessary stage. So whether like you've gone through that stage 2 years ago on your website and what products you were offering and services you were offering on your website, or whether you're like new to online business and starting with using MemberVault now, like definitely don't want to devalue that stage, because if I didn't go through that spaghetti on the wall stage, I wouldn't have what I have now. And I can tell you from when if I had taken a screenshot of like what my resource hub activity was like based on those graphs, it literally was just the first module, which was a PDF that I market on my website about like 5 email marketing tips for newbies.
Yeah.
And then I think it has 5 modules in the resource hub, and very little engagement in any of the other modules because they didn't relate to why people were getting into that resource hub, right? So and that it was that graph that made me realize like, ew, this really isn't working.
And see, and then I even look at here, this is the 52 emails that engage. This is very much a resource kind of thing. Pick and choose what you want. And of course, lesson 1 always has a bunch. But then, again, you'll see these like little spikes down here. And then even like this one here. So the motivational emails, like, like these are the types of things that like, okay, great. And then you look at like some dips where it's like, there might be like less engagement.
There's less interest.
Yeah. So I just wanted to take a quick sidebar there to be like, even if you do have spaghetti against the wall, great. You still want
spaghetti
traffic.
Can be good.
Spaghetti can be good. And that this is all about, right? And I think this is a great lead in to the beginning to like differentiate why MemberVault is so different, because we want you, we say this over and over again in your account and emails. We want you to put all of your products in there, and we want you to put all of your people in there and keep inviting them back in there. And this is why, because you can see what's happening. Eyeballs and traffic are the only way that you're going to get engagement, and the engagement will tell you what's working, what's not working. It'll give you hot leads, warm leads, sales. All of that comes from engagement. All that comes from traffic. It comes from people walking through. So really don't think about MemberVault as like just an e-storefront where you're like, here's my paid products, go shop. Instead, you got to think of it more of like your home base where everyone can hang out, and you have like things like for sale there too. I grew up in New Jersey. One of the things I always think about was like the boardwalk down at the shore, as people from Jersey say. So it's free. It's free to go to the boardwalk and walk around, and the beach is free usually. It might not be now, but it used to be free when I was growing up. It used to be free to go to the boardwalk, go to the beach, jump in the ocean, voila. However, guess what was along the boardwalk? Funnel cakes and pinball machines and skee ball and all that stuff,
things
right?
to entice.
Things to entice, right? So that is a great example of like, if that was it, if it was just a boardwalk with stores and like no free to kind of go in there to go play, it wouldn't be anywhere near as popular as it was. And I think that's a great kind of example of what we want to try to do with MemberVault here too.
Well, and it's the organic experience, right? Like when people reach out on support, and because I do get this question a lot in email and chat support, is why is MemberVault better than having a traditional funnel? That's the general question, right? It's usually asked in different ways, but that's the general question. And the way I typically explain it is it's the area that you are able to show everything that you offer, and you don't have to wait for March 1st to hit or June 1st to hit, where you open the doors and that's the only time somebody ever sees that product or gets familiar with it, and then the doors close and then they have to wait another 6 months, right? Like it's with MemberVault, it's this open area where you can invite people in, give them access to a free product to get them to wander around and see everything else that you have available to them. Like perfect example, I had somebody who came in on my MVO approach free training. This was probably about 3 weeks ago now. And came in on the free training. Somebody relatively new to MemberVault, who I don't have a relationship with at this point, came into my free training, went into about a week later or so, 2 weeks later, when I introduced my crash course in MV, took that right away. And then booked a power hour call with me. All honestly, like they entered into the MV crash course, which they paid some money for. It was a pay what you feel feels good. Right. So yeah, so they came in on the free training.
Yep. So boom, they were here.
Yeah. And then I think it was about a week later. So now they're on my list. I think it was about a week later, I introduced the MV crash course. They grabbed that at about 50% off.
Which is great.
And then within, I'd say 72 hours of finishing that training, and they pretty much purchased it and finished it within the same day. And then within 72 hours later, they booked a power hour call with me.
Yep.
Right.
This is so cool. Like, I love this. Yeah.
Yeah. And I, outside, in full disclosure, outside of the automated workflow and emails that are associated with those products, I had no one-to-one touch with that person until I got the notice that they had scheduled the power hour, and I shot them a personal email to say thank you and looking forward to our call. Like, that was completely hands-off, essentially. Right. So I think that like that kind of shows you like that path happens. And that's what I try to explain to people when they reach out on support, is that like with a funnel, you are making this person fit into this lane, right? You are defining exactly what that person is supposed to do. And what a lot of people don't realize is that more than 50% of people abandon a funnel before they even purchase.
Yeah.
Right. So you're pushing them through this funnel. There's a whole reason it's called a funnel. You're pushing them through this exact path you want them to go, and you're not giving them any of their own liberties.
Yeah.
Right. If I had pushed that person who came through that free training through this very distinct path, they never would have gone on their own journey. And with MemberVault, they can pick and choose what works for them and answers their need right now without waiting. So it's the right time, the right offer. They don't have to wait for you to open doors.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. There's this, in the traditional kind of funnel world where it's like and I've heard all the arguments, right? And it's, I don't overwhelm people, like what we've been told is like, put blinders on like a horse, put blinders on and just let them focus on the one thing. Don't let them click on anything else. Don't distract them.
Yeah.
And I've just never enjoyed that experience, because I'm like, come on, like I always, even if I end up on a funnel of someone I always bail out of the funnel, try to find their website, click around to learn more, build a little trust. I'm like, I'm not going to buy your thing off of one big sales page with testimonials. Like I need a little bit more than that. I need a little bit more, and everybody needs something different. And I think that's the key. And there's no clockwork type of thing where you're like, first do this and then wait exactly 5 days and then send this. And it's like, that might work for a certain percentage of people, but it's not going to work for everybody. And what we have found is that doing the opposite, getting people in, sure, that's great. That part stays the same. You got to get someone's attention and get them in. And then after that, let them explore. Let them shop around. Let them binge. And then see. And here's what I think is cool. Like, here's where the fun stuff kind of happens, right? Because I want to share our account real quick, right? Because now I'm going to put us on the hot seat. In the hot seat.
Ladies kill me every time. Oh my gosh, great. Sorry, they're totally distracted for a second.
Anyone who, let me tuck that away. So anyone who anyone that has a new MemberVault account, gets added to our free products, and they change, sometimes. Obviously, we have some really distinct ones right now for the whole, COVID-19 thing, how to be agile. Like, we're really trying to serve our audience at this time, right? So like a random grab bag of whatever isn't the biggest thing. But we also have, this is where we sell our lifetime product, our lifetime account license. This is where we sell the custom domain. This is where MV Insider is a product that like all upgraded accounts have access to. This is where we have our quick start training. So like here we're seeing, like, just look at all the different, these are 6 public products, right? And they're all so different. This is a free training on, how to be agile and, and do this thing. The Maximize Your MemberVault, that's a mastermind. That's kind of a group type thing that we have. Lifetime access to our, to our account. So that's selling basically a lifetime access to a software product. Custom domain, that's a service type thing where we can upgrade your domain to be whatever you want. MV Insider, that's more of a kind of a ongoing membership type thing that you get access to. Then the quick start, that's like a tutorial. So we look at just even our account, how many different types of products that they are, and and you might think, well, what a mess. Like, how are people ever going to get to the other things? Well, here's what's cool. Let's look at our live account right now, and we can kind of see in our dashboard here. So this is in the past 1 month, we see how many sales we've had. These are the things that we've sold. So we've sold a number of lifetime lights. We've sold a number of Maximize Your MemberVault, blah, blah, blah. All this stuff, we can kind of see everything that's in here. And then we can also see, our active payment plans. But this is where I think is really cool. We can see our hot leads and warm leads. Now, this is directly related to getting traffic in your account, right? And
seeing what they're looking at.
Yeah, seeing what they're looking at, right? So a hot lead, just to kind of like break this down. So in the past 30 days, we've had 434 warm leads. And these are people that have clicked on a product that they don't own. So they're logged in to like a free product, and they're clicking into products that they do not own. So we can see I've blurred out the names and emails for, I don't want to put anyone else on the spot, putting ourselves on the spot. And here's really cool, because you can see like the date that they did it, but then you can also see how much EP that user has. So we can see like here, kind of like, you can kind of gauge like, okay, great. Well, who's
new, who's
right. Like this person with 1 EP, they clearly just, they pop their head in, they might be exploring around, right? Where, this person with 15 EP that's looking at the MemberVault Mastermind, well, here's a person that has probably done a little bit of digging and is checking that out. So it's really cool to be able to kind of do this. And then we can even click on that user, and then we can see like what they've done, right? Like what other products that they've done.
What products they have access to.
And then we can look at their user log. So they just joined on the 9th.
April 9th. Yeah,
April 9th, got added to these products, and then like logged in and started like checking stuff out. And so look at that. They viewed the teaser content for Maximize Your MemberVault Mastermind and Lifetime Light, and then went back to go look at some more lessons. So this is really cool. Now this is a warm lead. This is somebody who may be interested. They, may not. Like it's cool. It's
a warm lead. And just to clarify for people, sorry, Mike, a warm lead is somebody who has looked at a product's page once.
Yeah.
So so they know what the difference is between warm and hot.
Right. And that's what I was saying. So that's someone who you can treat your warm leads like ad clicks. You know what I mean? They basically clicked on an ad.
The one-time visit. Yeah.
Which is great, right? That's wonderful to know that, right? And then hot leads, here's what's really cool. So what we just kind of accidentally discovered all this, because we saw that so many people were helping themselves by binging around, that people were repeatedly doing it. And it blew my mind. And I was like, wait, what? People are repeatedly going back in? So then there's hot leads. Now, hot leads are people. Now, look at this person. Now, we have it sorted by number of times that they viewed it. Now, this is just, mind you, this is just in the past 30 days. This person here, whose identity will be secret, has looked at the Lifetime Light product 6 times on 6 different days. So I can see
within a month.
Yes, within a month.
They're very keen. Yeah.
March 21st, March 29th, the 3rd, the 7th, the 11th, and the 14th. I'm sorry, but if somebody is repeatedly going back and looking at this product over and over and over again, and they don't yet own it, they want to, or they're
Yes.
very curious, you
They're
know?
very keen, like they're on the
They're
fence.
they're very, yeah. So I think this is just such a great way to do this. And this is how I use MemberVault as a sales tool as well. And this user might be free. They might be just kicking the tires. They might be like
Mm-hmm.
looking around. They might like, I don't, you know, I could dig and find out, but I'm not going to right
Yeah.
now on the call. But this is what's really cool. And this is why it's important to have those, it's why it's important to have your people in there, like more people, the
Yes.
better, because this is how, you know, imagine if this person is just in here on a free account, on a free product, and
Yeah.
is expressing this type of interest. If we never had that free product and added them in there, they wouldn't be on our
Mm-hmm.
radar. They wouldn't be like, oh, let's see
Yeah.
if we can help this person.
Well,
Because
and that's what I was going to say there, is that when you're talking about having your people in your account and having a user account for them, you can't get this data unless they have a user account. They have to be a logged in user for us to be able to track this information. So if you're just sending people to your MemberVault link, and you're sending them to your MemberVault site, and they're not actually logging in as a user, we don't know if they've checked out 2 of your products, 5 of your products, or none of your products. So having them be a user, even if you're just giving them access to a free product automatically, then they're now in there, and we can log what they're doing, so you have that data on them.
Yep. That's a really good point. I like that. I like that you mentioned that. Yeah. Public access, like they're randos. We can't track a rando, you know, like I don't know who they are, but when they're
That's when
logged
you would
in,
need to be using like Google Analytics or Facebook Pixels for
and even then you can't
traffic.
tell who it is.
You're right.
Yeah. You could tell uniques, but we don't know who they are. So the whole beauty of this is, you know, having people opt in and they have a login to your MemberVault account. And once they're logged into your MemberVault account, then you can see how they're exploring around. And I think that's the big thing I kind of want to like drive home, is that it's so important. Like, we're not just trying to trick you into adding more people into your account so you have to upgrade. This is a legitimate, like, this is here is where the magic is. And to my knowledge, there's no other course platform or membership platform or thing that does this type of thing, where it's like, it's all about having this be a central hub for all your people. And then we can kind of like serve them. Like, so you get data, you know, you get all this delicious data about like who's doing what in your account. You get to see what products are doing well. But then, you know, outside of that, you're able to see like who's really interested in the products, and you can go ahead and you can automate these reach outs, or you can kind of look at your hot leads. And I still manually go through these things.
Well, and that's what I was gonna say. I knew people are probably gonna have the questions like, how do we follow up with them? And so right now, to answer one of the first questions that's probably coming to people's minds, is you cannot do so from actions, in the sense of tagging people as hot leads. That is an action trigger we hope to have in the future. So yes, but that is something that will come. But for right now, it is a bit of a manual process that you would need to do. But you can automate it from your email service. So for example, I have a client that I work with who, when we started getting a lot of people into her account, we wanted to be making use of the hot lead data. So what she does is she now goes into her account once a week. This isn't something I do for her anymore. She does it herself. But she goes into her account once a week, and she reduces that engagement snapshot on the dashboard. And she looks specifically at that week. So the past 7 days. And so she's only seeing data from the past 7 days. If there's anyone in the hot leads who has looked at any particular product of hers, and I think she has about 4 products this would apply to, that has looked at the product, I want to say, 2 or more times in that 7-day period, we tag them as a hot lead in her active campaign account, and we trigger a follow-up email to them with more information. There's a little bit more to it than just that, but just to give people kind of the idea of what they can do with that information. And if there's somebody who has looked at one particular product, which is like her group training, her big mastermind product, more than, I think it's 5 times within a month.
Yeah.
She reaches out to them personally with the offer to have a one-on-one call with them, right? And in the one thing I do want to say though is if you are automating that information, like you're manually going in, you're seeing who's a hot lead, and then you're wanting to reach out to them by maybe tagging them in your email service and pushing them through to an automation. Please make sure that you vet that they don't already own the product.
Right.
Because if somebody has been a hot lead on a product and has looked at something 4 or 5 times, if they purchase that product, they still show on your hot leads list. They're not removed. So the last thing you want to do is automatically go into your email service, tag them as a hot lead for that product, and send them an email offering them more information about that product when they've already purchased that product. So it's just a little caveat for people to keep in mind.
Well, and real quick that at least this is how this should work, and I think I just tested it, and it does. The hot leads here in MemberVault, these people don't own it yet. So once they purchase it, they're taken off of this.
So that has changed then.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Before, okay.
Yeah.
So
that was a while ago.
It didn't. Yeah.
Nope. They get pulled out. So you can trust this. But to your point, if you are tagging people, there's nothing that's going to remove that tag once they buy it unless you put that in there. But I don't want to. I don't want to make this into an automation.
No, but we do get the question a lot though about how are people supposed to follow up with warm and hot leads, specifically hot leads. That is how you would have to do it right now, simply because there isn't an action trigger for it. But warm leads, you can use actions. There is a trigger that says view teaser content. Right. That would work for warm leads if you want to follow up with them, but just don't spam them with an email 2 minutes after they look at something.
and real quick, so this is day 2 of the little sprint that Erin's doing on the podcast this week. So the next 2 podcast episodes that Erin's going to do is go from no leads to warm leads in 3 steps, and then go from warm leads to hot leads and what to do next. So I don't want to steal a little, some of her win there.
She'll get more into that for sure.
Yeah, she'll get more into that for sure. So just know if you're watching this, definitely check out the Vault podcast, because Erin is talking great. Now that you have this in there and you have these warm leads or no leads or hot leads, what to do with them. We're gonna give some really good guidance around that. And I'm sure we'll have some masterclass trainings on how to automate, some of this stuff too. But yeah, this is, you can tell we're getting all fired up and we're getting excited. This is where the magic happens, right?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Cool. So so just to kind of circle back, this is what, the whole point of this conversation was to kind of talk about and show all the different types of products you can have at MemberVault and why. I think that's a big thing, because you want that traffic, you want to help your people, you want to give them the ability to kind of binge around and check stuff out, and why that's so important. So I think to give maybe some, let's do a little, we did this at the end of the last call.
Show and tell.
So let's do a little show and tell. All right. So I'm literally going to go into what everyone can go into this. And I think that everyone really should go into this. And by the way, if it's not a public feature yet, but if you're on this most engaged accounts list and you don't want to be, let us know. We can suppress you from that list. We find that most people love being on this list. So, but if you are a private person and you don't want to be on this list, just know that you don't have to be. But I think, this is a great piece of inspiration. If you're feeling a little stuck and you want some ideas, the whole point of this is to just see, because we're only one business too. What works for MemberVault or what works for Katrina might not work for you. And I think that's a really important thing. So this is showing the most engaged accounts. So these are the people with the most EP today, right? And I think that's really cool to be able to see that. So I love this account. I love Tennille. Tennille, if you're watching, she's been So Tennille not only is a dog trainer, but she trains dog trainers. So there's a really cool thing here. And you can just see, you can get inspiration from their account about cool. Like, you know, she's got the video there. Like, what do you say in your welcome area? But then I think this is really cool too. They kind of be able to see like the free training vault. And then there's like, you know, dog trainer tips, and then just frantic to focus. So there's some really like specific things, and it's just such a nice,
I think to
nice
point out
market.
here, yeah, like I was gonna say to point out here, one thing too about Tennille's account, and we kind of touched on this with Carolyn's account in the last call that we did, but she has a lot of products, but it doesn't feel overwhelming because it's organized nicely. There's consistency to the product images, and everything is intentional, right? So it all relates to one another in some degree, or it relates to the specific people that would be coming, whether it's to train their dogs or to learn how to become a dog trainer. Like everything in this account is very intentional and is very like I'm going to assume is very in tune with exactly what she's doing right now, right? It's not outdated. It's right. And I think that's like, if you even have like 10, 15 products, like Carolyn has 15 products in her account when I last looked, like that might sound like a lot, but if you've organized it well and you've been intentional with it, it's not overwhelming.
No, it's not. And I think this is, I didn't even realize, I forgot about this, but this is something that always gets asked too. And I think this is a great example of how to deal with it. So categories in MemberVault is coming, right? So it's something we're working on. It's rather complex. So like we're figuring out all the, you know, messy corners of it, which will let you group products into kind of folders. But until then, one of the common questions is, great, well, I kind of have like 2 different audiences. Like, how do I like, isn't that going to be confusing, right? Tennille does a really good job. If you look, if you actually like, if you start looking at these products, all the purple ones are geared towards dog trainers. And all, you know, the other ones are for end users, basically people that are just dog owners who are looking for help with their dog. And I think like it becomes really obvious just scrolling through it. And then like, you know, there's even like how to set your rates, you know, it's the thing as a dog trainer and stuff like that. So I think this is just a really good example of just a nice, beautiful account that's really clean and clearly getting a lot of engagement, right? It's a nice mix of like paid offers and free offers, and like, what are those free offers? You know, so there is a free training vault, which is kind of like the odds and ends, but then there's also like the business hub, and there's also, you know, there's a lot of like really good, like points in there. I just think it's a great showcase of
she's done,
you know, the type of products that you can have. And then look at that, even an ebook. I think that's another one of those things where people don't realize that you can have this be, and do you have to host an ebook on MemberVault? Of course not. But this is the thing, it's a hub, right? Everyone's there anyway. I would not have known that Tennille had an ebook on why does my dog do this and that. I would not have known. I wouldn't have gone to Amazon or whatever. Like I wouldn't have known, but now I do know, because like this is like linked in here. I think this is just so cool to be able to do this type of thing. And it just shows you how flexible that you can be with your products.
And I think that that's another thing too, like just in that topic of, you know, what products you can put in MemberVault, right? There really is no, I don't want to say like, there really is no limit. That is what I'm going to say. Yeah, it can be a PDF workbook. It can be a 5-series video training. It can be a 10-day challenge. It can be like anything that you can really conceptualize. There is a way to make it work in MemberVault. And I think where a lot of people really struggle, and where I think looking at these top engaged accounts is very helpful for new users, is they're coming from a world where they have all this content and all this teachable knowledge, but they don't know, or they can't think of a way to package it in a way that would be helpful and of benefit to their users. So they don't like, they just don't know what to start with. And the one thing I really want to say for people is like, ask your audience what would be helpful to them. Like, would that PDF workbook be good? Would a 5-series video training be good? Would a 10-day challenge be good? Like, they're going to be your best source. So if you don't know exactly what to start with, ask around for one and start with something, right? Because like there's no wrong answer. And
Yep.
as we've talked about, your MemberVault account is an evolution. So what was in your account today is probably not going to be there next year, or
Right.
it's going to be
Yeah.
different, right? Like
Yep.
what you put in there today doesn't have to stay there for the rest of eternity. You can try
Right.
it for a month, and if it doesn't jive well with your audience, if it's not getting the engagement you're looking for, you can go away from it and offer something else, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that in there because I think that that's where a lot of people
I
struggle
love that.
too, is
Right.
just
Yeah. And yeah.
conceptualizing what to put in.
Right. And you might look at these gorgeous accounts and be like, oh, I'm so far from that. But like one step at a time, I think that's
Yes.
it's an ongoing evolution. All these accounts have gone through
Mhm.
big evolutions. Right.
Well, and in
And
all honesty, like my account itself,
mhm.
it had the I don't want to say generic, but that's probably the best term. It had the general look of a MemberVault account for the
Mhm.
longest time
Yeah.
before I started adding in some
Yeah.
branding and changing the background color and that kind of stuff and getting some more polished graphics, right? Like
Yep.
it didn't look like this account, which is gorgeous, right? But
Right. I was just gonna say,
this
like,
account started with a
yeah.
base MemberVault account, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Our account, Katrina's account, this account, all these accounts, they're all the same account. Like
They all started in the same
literally, like
spot. Yeah.
nobody has a special version of MemberVault. Like it's all the same.
Right.
And I think that's really cool. I wanted to point out this account because yes, it's in
Mhm.
German. No, I can't read it. However, I even though it's in a
Great
different language that
example though of using MemberVault for other languages.
it's a great example for that, but it's also a great example of usability because
Oh my
even
gosh,
though
yeah.
I don't speak German and I can't read it, I get that like this is free. I mean, free looks almost the same in German
Yeah.
as English, which helps.
Yeah.
But also look like level 1, so free, and then there's the deep dive, which is level 2.
Yeah.
And then there's on-site deep dive. Like I love these little flags and everything, and they just cook those into the images. And that's another great way to kind of distinguish like products apart from each other. So you can
Yeah.
see that like,
Yeah, that's Pat's account and he's done an incredible
yeah.
job. Like
Oh yeah.
his images are so on point, and
Yeah.
again, there's a lot
And
of content, but it's not
yeah.
overwhelming.
And it goes to show you like how diverse these products can be. There's even
Yeah.
on-site stuff. We've had people sell like actual in-person conferences and events and stuff
Yep.
like that inside of MemberVault. Anywhere if
Yep.
you have an audience and you have digital products or services or whatever,
Mhm.
you can connect those two things in MemberVault. So I think that's
Mhm.
just a great,
I just say too, if you look at Patrick's as well, if you just go down to those products a little bit further again,
yeah.
he actually tells you right up front the pricing of most. So,
Oh, okay.
and again, it's in German, right? But it's like
Right.
you can see like 149,
Yeah.
499, early
Yep.
bird price was 449. Like, so
Yep.
he's very upfront. And what I like about that is that if I'm somebody who's brand new to his audience, it kind of it very easily tells me where that next like low cost entry point is,
Yeah.
right? Is
And
that
look at this.
strength revisited? Yeah.
He even has like that looks like time investment. Like how
Yeah.
much time will this take you? Like
Yeah.
this is, again, it's just no wonder these people, I think this is what's so cool. Is like, no wonder these people are up on this like leaderboard
Yeah.
because they have, great products, great setup, and then they have traffic going into their account. So I think that's, again,
Mhm.
that's all I want to drive home. Like that was the whole point of this,
Mhm.
of this entire call and conversation. So obviously it's something we can geek out on forever, but
Hours. Yeah. But I do
right,
I do want to say
yeah.
though really quickly, like if you're a brand new MemberVault user, please
Mhm.
do not get intimidated by
Yes.
the accounts that you see in that leaderboard and that
Mhm.
in the EP board there. Use them as inspiration because that's where your account can get to as you spend time with it and as you develop your products and as you get more intentional with your graphics and things
Yep.
like that. Like they didn't do that overnight. So if you're
Yep.
looking at it going like, well, mine doesn't look anything like that. Like
Yeah.
Tennille's account is a year in the making, if not longer, right? But
Yeah.
you can get there too.
Yep.
And just, it all starts with being intentional for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, it's just use it as inspiration, like you said. Like if you're
Yeah.
feeling stuck and you're like, I don't know, I have all these things, just see what other people are doing.
Yeah.
And your angle on it is going to be a little bit different. And I think that's
Yes.
really the big point of this entire thing is like, you can, whatever you have, you can put in there, you can figure out a way to structure it and then just get people in there, in there. And that's
Well,
when
and that's
I'm
the
telling
thing.
you, I feel so sad for people that spend so much time just like putting content in there and tweaking stuff and then never letting people in. And one of the things that we hear all the time is, oh my God, I wish I had opened this up sooner, because it's so exciting once you see like real people coming in and binging on your content, and you're able to kind of see what they're doing, and all of a sudden sales start popping up and you got hot leads, and like, that's when it gets really addicting and like, wow, okay, this is really cool. And a lot of those questions that you had will answer themselves as you do this. So like, the sooner you can get to that point where you have people coming in your account and engaging, the better.
Yeah, and it's a great point too, because that's one of the tips that I give to my one-to-one clients. If they're just starting out with MemberVault, my biggest piece of advice to them is like, okay, what is a free product that we can get up and going as soon as possible to start bringing people in? Whether we're adding your pre-existing audience, if you have one, not everybody does, and that's totally okay. And then if you don't, like, we're sharing it on social media and telling people to come in and join, right? Get something up as soon as possible, even if it doesn't look exactly like you want it to yet, because once you get those people in there, you can see what they're doing. You can see if what you're offering them is working, if they're engaging, and you can start asking them quiz questions and getting their feedback, right? But until you do that, but until you do that and you have people engaging in your account, you don't really have the data to know what truly is working. You're just making assumptions. And you can do that all day long. But I can tell you, like you said, once you get people in there seeing things, it actually becomes a bit addictive, because like, you'll check your MemberVault every morning and being like, ooh, there's 50 more EPs. Somebody else has been doing stuff. And, you know, or you wake up in the middle and you wake up at night and only to see that, you know, you have a notice that somebody just purchased something, right? Like, you've got to get people into your account though.
Yeah, I just share my screen. Like we're here to help you. Like, mood check, like, tell me about your audience. Like, this person was like, you know, basically can't find the energy to put content out there to Instagram, website, sporadic blogs. Like, this is like your audience is directly telling you stuff that like you want to know. So it's just, it's amazing once you start kind of connecting those dots. And I mean, that's my big takeaway is like, please just get started and get people in there. And this is where things can really start to kind of click.
And there's no right or wrong way to do it. I get asked that all the time on support. What is the right way to do this? There is no right or wrong way. And just start working with it, start using it, start getting people in, and then let it evolve from there.
I love it. All right, cool. Well, we're going to save everyone's eyes and ears here. So we're going to wrap this up. But yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, Katrina. This has been
pleasure.
Wonderful.
My coffee is officially empty, so that's how you know it's over.
I'm very empty. So yeah, we gotta fix this. But
awesome. Okay. All right. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you soon.
All right. Bye.